Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates. Welcome back to Safiyya Traders Bookstore's weekly book introductions, reviews, book series. This is Sammil. Already in our YouTube channel, we have published part 1 video of the biography of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. List of books, I think there are 5 books in the part 1 video that has to do with the life history of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And those of you who haven't watched that part 1 video, I strongly recommend that you watch that video. The link of that video is provided in the description below. So, succeeding that list of books, this part 2 of the Prophet Muhammad, part 2 of the biography of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also has to do with another 5 books vis-a-vis the life history of the Prophet Muhammad. May the peace and blessings of the Creator be upon him. So the 6th book is Ibn Ishaq's famous biography of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It was written in the 6th century of Islam, approximately 75 years following the death of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, making it one of the earliest account of committing the Seerah to paper. The original work, which is no longer available in its original form, was a collection of stories, anecdotes and traditions that surround the life of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his teachings and his dealings in Arabia. Ibn Ishaq's book is one of the earliest and most authoritative textual sources for the study of the Prophet Muhammad's biography, and as such is held in high regard by scholars. Professor Gulam's translation of this classical manuscript into English is therefore highly ambitious and very useful for scholarship. He successfully compiled this translation by using Ibn Hisham's text combined with additional sources found in the writings of other early authors. This book is therefore a compendium of knowledge which virtually touches on every detail of the Seerah from the earliest sources available to us. The translator even includes various discussions about early Arabian scholars and presents evidences from ancient Arab poetry, making this a very unique and commendable endeavor on the part of Professor Gulam. This book is perhaps the closest and the most elaborate rendition of the original text to Ibn Ishaq's work that can be obtained in the English language for those who do not have the knowledge of classical Arabic. The author presents many supporting comments and footnotes, further providing insights and expanding on the meaning and significance of certain words and references within the main text. This is both useful and invaluable to the reader. Overall, it's a fantastic book, but is more of a reference source book for researchers and advanced students of knowledge. But perhaps hardcore history lovers do indulge in it if they are looking for hard to find details that are certainly not included in the more modern and accessible works of Seerah. The next one is Dr. Tariq Ramadan's biography of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, The Messenger, The Meanings of the Life of Muhammad. We have already provided a very detailed introduction and review of this book in our YouTube channel long back. I think some 1 or 1.5 years back, we have given a very detailed introduction of this book. The link of that video is given below in the description. For those of our viewers who haven't watched that video, do watch it. The Messenger, The Meanings of the Life of Muhammad. This book is both concise and lucid, in keeping with the eloquent style of the author's own phraseology. Though it may not provide the level of study and analysis that one may seek to get from an academic such as Dr. Ramadan, the book is unique in that it attains the objective of striking a balance between the eloquent narrative and literary style of the author and the spiritual significance that characterizes the meaning and message of the Prophet Muhammad's teachings. So therefore, this book is more of an intimate portrait of the spiritual and moral dimensions of the Prophet Muhammad's message, rather than a historical document focused on the study of names, places and events. As can be expected from a book such as this one, the literary style is very easy to follow and it employs a contemporary and culturally appropriate use of language to bridge the gap between the ancient Eastern tradition and contemporary Western culture. Unlike some of the previously mentioned books, the reader is not required to understand or even to recognize Arabic terminologies, as such references are very minimal in this book, making the book lighter and clearer to read. Overall, it's a worthy title for the completely new reader of the Seerah, and perhaps even more appropriate for those studying the Prophet's biography from an external perspective as either non-Muslims or even completely new initiates of the faith. However, this may not be the most resourceful and effective source from which one can hope to extract a detailed and elaborate study of the events, people and places mentioned in the Seerah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But nevertheless, it's a beautiful introduction to the Prophet's biography and is presented in a style that can easily be understood by almost everyone. Next, we have the excellent biographical work by Sheikh Abul Hasan Ali al-Nadwi, which was translated into English by Dr. Muhyiddin Ahmad and published in 2014. Sheikh Abul Hasan Ali al-Nadwi was without doubt one of the premier and most prolific writers and original thinkers of our time. He is the author of over 50 books written in various languages and a scholar of very rare distinction. This book is a testament to the fact that the Seerah of Prophet Muhammad remains a timeless treasure from which an endless stream of wisdom can be derived. The author has been very observant and considerate of modern academic research techniques and methodology, ensuring that the book remains compatible with the highest literary standards in this field. This is of great importance to researchers and students alike because it provides the intellectual basis upon which to build solid and convincing counter-arguments for the growing number of critical assaults leveled towards the biography of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But perhaps most importantly, this book addresses some of the more difficult and challenging questions that at times can create doubt in the minds of some Muslims about certain events and details conveyed in this seerah. The author presents compelling and sound evidence to the contrary, thereby dispelling many reservations and ambiguities that may otherwise have been addressed by other books. Overall, this is a highly recommended piece of literary work. As we see, the title of the book itself evokes the core principles of mercy and compassion that we find so lacking in our modern existence. So overall, this book is a very resourceful one as it provides sufficient detail without being too overwhelming, while also maintaining and addressing many questions that arise from modern studies of the life of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Finally, we should also note that this book is currently being used as a study guide for university level courses around the world. It is certainly one for the serious students of knowledge. The ninth and the last book is When the Moon Split. The title of the book is When the Moon Split, which is a reference to the miraculous event that took place in Mecca following the Quraysh challenge for the Prophet Muhammad to produce proof of his prophethood. This very beautiful book is arguably one of the most recognizable and famous seerah biographies in the English-speaking world, with the sealed Nectar, the Raheeq Makhtum coming close second. Though both books were written by the same author, each book focuses on a unique perspective of the Prophet's biography. The literary style is very accessible to the reader and easily fulfills the needs of those who may be learning about the Prophet Muhammad for the very first time, making this the ideal beginner's guide to the Prophet Muhammad's biography for younger audiences as well as newly practicing Muslims. Unlike the more elaborate biographical works available to the English readers, this book provides very elementary details regarding the major events that took place in the life of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and does not attempt to pack the paragraphs and pages with hair-splitting details, footnotes and commentaries, as is commonly associated with the more weighty and advanced book of Seerah. This book is also very factual. The author uses a very careful and precise and almost clinical stock of references and citations, which in many seerah biographies can be somewhat neglected, and some authors tend to prioritize sentimental value and sensational tales over the facts, which is at times used by critics to discredit the works of seerah as works of pietistic fantasy that are devoid of any historical value. But such is not the case with this book, as it remains very loyal to the early texts and sources throughout. Now, in terms of how the book itself is presented, there are many eye-catching colored diagrams, vivid images, and beautifully designed maps that aid the reader in grasping the written details even more effectively. The general style and theme throughout the book is one of lucidity, simplicity, brevity, and elegance. It is a sort of book that can quite easily be read cover to cover in 2 to 3 sittings. Another quite unique attribute of this book is that there are question and answer sections at the end of each chapter, serving to reinforce the lessons learned, but also acting as an aid memo for the reader, reminding them that the seerah is to be read, learned, and implemented, not to be treated as mere entertainment and pastime. So in conclusion, this book, When the Moon Split, is a great introduction to the seerah for those who find themselves at the beginning of their search of knowledge on the biography of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Additionally, it has the distinction of having been written by one of the most prolific, respected modern biographers in the Muslim world, The great scholar and Sheikh Safiur-Rahman Mubarakpuri, whose close and careful attention to authenticity and detail leaves the reader with no concern about the authenticity of the stories mentioned in this book. So that's it. We have reached the conclusion of the part 2 video of the Prophet's biography. Which one to read? These books are my recommendation, my personal recommendation, and I strongly recommend our viewers to read these books from cover to cover, so that you will benefit a great deal from the biography of the Prophet Muhammad, our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Peace and blessings of the Creator be upon him. So see you next week in another book introductions or reviews. This is Sammil. Thank you very much. May the peace and blessings of the Creator be upon all of us.